Hi, welcome to MIG Monday. I'm Paul. Today I want to address a question that I get asked a lot. And before I even get into it, the question is a matter of technique. Do you use a pushing technique or a dragging technique? And there's some rules of thumb. When there's slag present with your weld, you use a dragging technique like you do in stick welding. And when it's a gas product or a gas shielded procedure, then you use a push technique. And the idea behind that is when you're pushing, the gas flow is coming out in front of you. You're ensuring good gas coverage over the weld. You also get to see the puddle. You can tell how fast you're going. Dragging, if with a MIG process, you are taking a risk of not having adequate shielding. Now, before I go any further, there's always going to be somebody that says, I do it this way and I have no trouble. I mean, there's no welding police. These are recommendations, kind of rules of thumb. And anytime you have a rule of thumb, there's always something somewhere, some special circumstance that allows it to be done the other way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a MIG weld in this joint. I'm going to do what I consider to be the correct push technique, and then I'm going to do the same weld using a drag technique. What we'll end up doing, we'll compare to see if there's any visual difference, and typically we might not even see any visual differences other than whether I can weld better, whichever technique I can weld better with. But what also we're going to do is we're going to cut the sample and have it etched, and then we'll take a look and see what kind of penetration profiles we get to see if there is any real major differences between those two techniques. All right, now I'm ready to make a weld. I'm going to weld part of this plate using the push technique, and then we'll take a look, and then I'll reverse that and do the drag technique for the other part. All right, so here we go. So there we have, using what I consider to be the correct technique, the push technique. That, as far as I'm concerned, that assures me a good gas coverage, and it's just kind of the way it's been to be done. So now I'm going to do the same thing, except I'm going to use a different technique. I'm going to pull it along or drag it. And we'll see if there's any visual differences when we get done. Did very well. Visually not too different. It looks to me like the push technique, which I consider the proper technique. The weld looks a little shinier. That doesn't necessarily mean it's better or worse, but that's the main visual difference that I see. So what we're going to end up doing, we'll end up letting this cool, and then we're going to cut it, and we'll have it etched, and then we'll show you what the penetration profiles look like and see if there's any difference, okay? So just bear in mind that my recommendation is the push technique because I think it ensures better gas coverage. And anytime you're susceptible to air movement or anything, you always have to be a little cautious. Right now it's real still in here. There's no air movement to speak of. So maybe it's not quite as critical as it might be if there is some slight movement where it may already start to affect coverage. So those are all things just kind of keep in mind. And we'll, like I said, we'll get this cut and etched, and then we'll go from there, okay? All right, I have my etch samples back. Let's take a look at the results. Anyway, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on MIG Monday. Any further questions or anything, well, don't be afraid to contact the forum and express your questions or comments. Thanks a lot for watching, and see you next time. Well, if you learned something today or like what you saw, please feel free to subscribe and keep an eye out for new episodes every MIG Monday.